Kayvon and Brian, and it's this one drug called plitidepsin or Aplidin. It's an anti-cancer drug from the Spanish company Pharmamar that came from our data and was tested by Marco and Adolfo in Paris and New York, respectively, to be potent in cells and then in mice. And there's a phase 2 clinical trial that's just completed. The data looks great. It was actually just posted on medRxiv, I think today or yesterday. And there's ongoing phase 3 clinical trials with this particular drug at 70 sites in 17 countries. And we're hoping that this will be, a drug that people will be hearing about very soon as another tool to fight COVID-19. And there's a lot of other drugs in clinical trials as well from other groups. So we're going to need not just vaccines to combat this, because this is going to be with us for a long, long time. We're also going to need drugs. Similar to influenza, you need vaccines and you need drugs. And hoping within 6 to 12 months, there will be drugs out there that can be combined with the vaccination strategy that we can use to combat this virus.
Thank you. So we now have another question. So today, Pharmamar published result of phase 1 and 2 trial. Is it necessary to make a phase 3 trial, or could it be possible to commercialize plitidepsin in US based on these results?
And this was a paper I just alluded to. Actually, Marco and I worked with Pharmamar to put this work out. And I think Marco knows more about these things than I do. But I mean, we need the phase 3 trial data in order to be implementing it more worldwide. I mean, you need this placebo. The phase 3 is where you do a control group, and phase 1 and 2 is more about toxicity. So we'll need this data, but it's happening in thousands of people around the world right now. So the hope is that we will see something positive over the next couple months, and then this can be, as I said, another drug in the arsenal to combat COVID-19.
Yeah, thank you. Marco, do you want to add something?
Well, I mean, I really can't. I can't speculate on moving things through the phase 1, 2, 3. They have to be done in the time required without jumping steps. But I think it's similar to what we've seen with vaccines, where the general public had the impression that we rushed through everything. Of course, everything was done, that the actual phases and tests were done in the proper conditions, and it's more of the bureaucratic work that often has spaces in between that were moved or shortened. But again, for these being the kind of lab that we are, that is so far from removed from the actual placing it in humans, I can't speak for it. All of the work that we did was very much the very primary testing in cell culture to find the positive hits that then had to move into more complex models, right, and systems. Yeah,
and the human cell work was done with Marco and Adolfo. A lot of great mouse work was done with Adolfo in New York, and now the experts are taking it into the clinical trial world, and hopefully we'll hear something positive on that drug and many other drugs very soon.
Thanks. So I have another question from the audience for all of you. So if you were infected with COVID, would you inject Alpidin or Remdesivir? And we already know that Dr. Adolfo Garcia Sartis would do so, and you.
I'll let Marco answer that.
Well, I mean, ultimately, the answer will be I'll follow with whatever physicians suggest. But my other answer usually is, this is half joking, but it's ultimately even with the fear of people not wanting to take the RNA vaccine. And I said, well, in my youth, I've put more illicit substances in me without asking too many questions. So I'm not going to raise too much of an issue for something that's actually FDA approved.
I got nothing to add to that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't have any more questions from the audience. Do you want to add